Good evening. Welcome to another Sunday night live stream. You're joining me as we are going to be kitbashing, as we always do on these Sunday live streams, apart from the odd occasion where I did play Total Warhammer once. But we're going to be about... God, I'm messing up already. I'm only like 30 seconds into the stream. I hope everyone has had a wonderful week since the last stream that I did. It was a week ago now, but it seems like it was 3 minutes ago because I don't know, this week's gone incredibly fast. I think between doing the last few little bits and bobs for the video that went out this evening, the Raptors kit bash, and getting stuff sorted for the Kickstarter, and I was at Warhammer World on Friday, it's just been an incredibly quick week. This camera seems really high for unusually high. That's better. Sorry for the extreme close-up then. But yeah, I hope everyone had a wonderful week. I hope you've all had a good fun doing whatever you've been doing. Hopefully it's been some hobby work. And yeah, we're just going to be having a nice, relaxed kit bashing session. As the thumbnail and the title of the video, we're going to be carrying on with the Raptors Heavy Intercessors that we did, that I basically worked on a few weeks ago. I can't remember how long ago. So this we did one of them. Oh, I need to change that camera actually. A little bit too far forward, I think. That's better. Okay, so this is what we did a few weeks ago. I did one model in a whole stream, which kind of seems unusual for me. But yeah, so we did this kind of like cut down version of the bolt rifle, the heavy bolt rifle, made like a shotgun. And yeah. So we're going to be carrying on with that. We're going to be obviously talking about the old Dead Animal Bits Kickstarter we've got running currently. I will be talking about that periodically throughout the stream. So if you have not already done so, then please do check it out. I will include a link in the... Is that the one? Yeah. I'll pop a link in all of the relevant chats. We are streaming on Twitch and YouTube at the moment. So yeah, hello to everyone on Twitch. Hello to everyone on YouTube. Let's get that up on here as well. So yeah, I'm sure most of you are probably already aware of it by now, but the Dead Animal Bits Kickstarter is still running. It's still got just over a week to go, and it's not quite its funding goal, but we're very, very close, and nearly 3/4 of the way. So yeah, 3/4 of the way through it, and we're just about 3/4 of the way up to the target. So yeah, this is to get a full plastic kit of Dead Animal Bits made. These are all the components. We'll have a close look at those in a second. This is just an example sprue layout, and yeah, go check it out. Lots of examples of different models that I've done it on, and yeah, some close-ups as well. Yeah. So these were actually the so what I have here, basically these are the prototypes. These are the just 3D printed versions of them. So let's get the painted versions up as well. So these are the ones that you can see on the Kickstarter. So this is these are the shark jaws. You can see that these are quite... So these are like the scale that they were sculpted in, but I'm actually thinking of getting some slightly smaller scale versions down. So this one has got... We're not sure, depending on how this will have to go in the sprue. There's a version which has these kind of blocked in a little bit, just to help with the sprue molding. But yeah, the backwards kind of teeth there, you can't really see it as well in the pictures. But yeah, there is like 2 rows of teeth in there. So yeah, I think I'm tempted to get like a slightly scaled down version of these, because if we bring them in against a Space Marine torso, you can see they're quite big. So I'm thinking of maybe scaling these down, about having a larger scale like this, so you can have like for vehicles and things, but then maybe having a 50% scale version as well. So maybe 60%. And that I want something that will go across the gorget as well. So that's what we're going to do possibly with that. What else do we have? So one of my favourites is the actual little rib cage. I think this is one of my favourite pieces in there. Just because it's like just an open rib cage. So if you want something to go over a shoulder pad, you can do. So it's about the right size to go over a shoulder pad. You might need to trim it down a little bit, just depending on the shoulder pad that you want, but it is kind of designed with that in mind. If you want to trim it down a little bit, you can pop it across the chests and things like that. Or you can just stick it on bases. So yeah, there's all that kind of thing. So yeah, if you haven't done so already, please do check it out. I'll be mentioning it again before the end of the stream. But yeah, apart from that, I hope everyone is having a wonderful time. That's more Wargaming over on Twitch. Hello, welcome. We played a game of Age of Sigmar. Played a mirror match of my Nurgle Neth against his Nurgle Sylvaneth. It was quite an interesting game. It was kind of a strange game. A lot happened, but then equally nothing happened at the same time. We only played like 2 turns, and it took ages because there's so much magic and everything going on. But yeah, it was a good day. Could you put the giant jaws on a Contemptor, considering a space shark army? Let's try. Let's go grab my Contemptor out. Let's try it. Tabletop and face. So yeah, it's actually scales really well for a Contemptor. That fits actually really nicely. It's kind of quite unintentionally done so, but yeah, that actually works really nice if you want some sort of Carcharodon. Works well for World Eaters as well. So where's the other half of the jaw? So it's actually in 2 halves. This jaw is as well. There's an upper and a lower. So there you go. So yeah, I think that works quite well with that scale of like the vehicle scale, dreadnought scale, that kind of thing. Maybe Demon Prince as well. What else have I got in that cupboard that I can try on? So I've got a Demon Prince of Khorne. It's mainly infantry, but yeah, that's the kind of scale that these are currently at. But I'll basically include a pair of those on a sprue, ideally, and then hopefully a slightly scaled down version of it. It's the reason why we've got like 2 different sizes of antlers as well, and horns and everything, because some of them are better scaled for larger creatures, larger vehicles, things like that. So these horns, we've got these kind of like rounded horns, they work quite well for like vehicle conversions, wherever you want to put them. If you want to put them like that, that'd work well for a World Eaters, actually. I think not World Eaters, Word Bearers. But then there's also the smaller version, which is about 50. I think it's 50% scaled. These ones are. So these are better scaled for things like Space Marines, things like that. Yeah, lots of options. But yeah, I think that's the thing. It's all about trying to make sure there's good opportunities. I'm also thinking of scaling up the femurs, because the femurs are very much human sized, and I reckon some larger femurs would actually work quite well for like monsters, trophies, things like that. What else have we got? We could try. There's so much in here. The feathers gone. Oh, there they are. Okay. So I really like the feathers personally. I think the feathers are some of my favourites, just because there are so many chapters, so many different regiments and legions and stuff like that. There's a Space Marine for scale that could use these. Raven Guard, Thousand Sons, Tzeentch Corrupted, Chaos Warbands. Various different, Rainbow Warriors could use these as well. There's just so many different units in that. There's the single piece, and then there's also a version where there's 3 clumped together. But there is if you look at it, it's not completely symmetrical. So what I'm thinking of doing as well is maybe trying to get a couple of flipped versions, so there's a little bit of variation in terms of the options that are in there. So you have some kind of like, I mean, the back isn't painted because I was running on a deadline when I was trying to paint all these. But yeah, that's basically it. Yeah, there's some larger spikes as well that we have STLs. I didn't have any printed out or painted or anything. Feathers could be used for space bears. They could indeed. Yes, they could do. Giant femurs would be good melee weapons for any caveman themed army. They would be really good for crypt ghouls as well. The big kind of bone weapons that the crypt horrors carry. I think that'd be pretty cool. Or anything like just really, it's just the case of having as much variation in there as possible, and which is why there isn't. I mean, considering it's if you look at the size of the sprue, and you think about a kit which maybe has multiple different components in there, there's not all that many parts. But if we go back to that, picture of the sprue mock-up. So basically, what I did to get this obviously this is something I've mocked up just to give you an idea. So this is basically the scale of the sprue that you would get. So this is a standard kind of War Games Atlantic sprue size. And what I've done is I scaled all the parts relevant to that and then placed them on there so you can see. So obviously these will be broken up in different amounts. So I'm thinking of maybe keeping at least one pair of the larger jaws per sprue, and then maybe having some smaller versions of the shark jaws, maybe 4 half-scaled versions of them instead. Same with the bones, maybe some larger femurs, things like that. But yeah, it means that each sprue can have as many components in there as possible. So there's like 5 feathers, there's 5 bunched feathers, there's 6 heads, hands, everything there's at least 2 of in a kit, and with some of the smaller components there's multiples as well, like the teeth. So yeah, that's kind of the intention. I don't want to have tons of stuff in one sprue, because I feel like doing that is where you get, oh cool, I'm still in the same situation where I've got to buy a whole box to get 3 components, whereas this is, you buy a box and that should do you for a whole army, really. That's the intention. And a box will be about 3 sprues. Well, yeah, it's plodding along. It's doing okay. It's hopefully at the current rate it should be hitting funded, which ends a week on Monday. But yeah, so yeah, really going to be doing a bit of a push this week. So if you get fed up of seeing it, I do apologize, but it's only going to be for the next week. But yeah, let's get back to the actual video at hand. Thank you very much for enduring my tangent there. If you have any questions though, please do ask, and I will try and include some. I'll answer any questions. Why did you decide down dead animal bits specifically rather than more techie options? Well, the reason being is because I think it's kind of ended up being a little bit of like a meme on the channel, a little bit of a catchphrase almost. So I think having a oh, sorry, I didn't realize that Heartless Tom subscribes with Prime. Thank you very much for your subscription over on Twitch. Thank you. So yeah, the reason why I didn't go for techie options, because partly because it's dead animal bits and that's like a catchphrase on my channel, it seemed like the best option, and partly because I think techie options are great, but they very much limit you to one setting. So I've tried to make these as setting agnostic as possible, so that you can basically use them in fantasy, you can use them in sci-fi, you can use them in not just 40k, you can use them in D&D, you could maybe use them in historicals as well for like basing and stuff like that if you wanted to. There's a lot of options that I've kind of tried, and I wanted it to be as full of options as possible. And I think at this state, so the whole spare parts emporium thing, if you look on there, that's going to be a whole range. Hopefully it's not going to just be a one-off kit. If this goes well, we'll be doing more kits in the future, which will have techie bits, mutations, spell books, potion box, loads of stuff, tons and tons of stuff. A list as big as my arm of different ideas that I can include in there. But yeah, there will be more in the future. If this goes well, there will definitely be more in the future. But this one seemed to be the most wide-ranging option, I think. Thought I would love to support the Kickstarter, but I don't get my first paycheck until the end of December. That's not a problem. I will be having a backer kit option, so I think that will allow for late pledges as well. So if you don't get a chance to pledge before the campaign has ended, I'm going to hopefully have something in place which will allow you to come back and do any last minute ones. But yeah, that's the idea. So hopefully going to be towards the middle of next year that the actual kit is going to be done. That's the aim, at least. And then once all the fulfillment's been done for everyone who's backed it on Kickstarter, then we will be getting it out to general production. So you will hopefully be able to buy it wherever you can buy a War Games Atlantic kit. So Helmet Games, something like that. North Star Military Figures in the UK. Loads of places sell them, and if they sell them, you'll be able to get them, and you'll be able to buy them as a box afterwards. That's the goal anyway. And then I would definitely recommend getting some, because I think most of my tutorials will probably end up using them when they get released as a full kit. So yeah, that's the goal. Anyway, where were we? So at the end of the last video, I'll be coming back to those, don't worry. At the end of the last video, we finished work on this guy. So he's the first, he's a Heavy Intercessor. So I've already done a Heavy Intercessor squad. This would be the second Heavy Intercessor squad. So these are the guys that we did before. This was the second squad that I finished, actually. So that's actually the exact same. It's totally, is that the same legs as well? It is as well. I've completely done the exact same arm and leg combo. Completely unintentionally. Even the same head. Okay. Probably shouldn't. At least the pouches are going to slightly different, so that's a good thing. But yeah, there is a full squad of those. We're going to be working on those. Right, so let's see what we've got here. I've got a whole, here's one I made earlier, set done here. So this is one of the torsos. All I've done for this one is just remove the Imperialis. It's not an Aquila. I used to call it an Aquila all the time, but it's not an Imperialis, it's an Aquila. On a tangent, I started making an Astra Militarum combat patrol heavily inspired by your Valhallan kill team. That's cool. I really like doing that kill team. I'm interested to know how you've gone about doing the Cadians, making those Cadians. I guess you can adapt a lot of the things on there. You don't have the great coats, but yeah, the Sentinel's in there, isn't it? The kill team. So I've done 2 Valhallan things. So yeah, you can probably pretty much adapt the 2 of those to make it work. Same head and legs as normal for a lot of kits, as it's easy to make the same model with the slight variations. Well, the best thing is, though, with that is I think what it was is I just basically, obviously the torso is set piece, and I just randomly chose the head based on the pose. I think I could have gone for a different pose, but I thought, oh, that looks cool. Obviously, I thought it looks cool because I've done it in the past. I don't think I was even following the instructions at that point, because what I'd done is purposely built all of the torsos, clipped away the torsos first, and then went to add the guns on it afterwards. And obviously I just decided both times to just do the same thing both times. So yeah. If you're great minds think alike, well, your own brain thinks the exact same as it does. Demented Kilvo, subscribed at tier 1. Thank you very much. You have now been subscribed for 6 months on Twitch. Thank you very much. There we go. That's that done. Yeah, so this one thing I actually didn't do in the last kit was use the pointing arm. So I'm quite eager to use the pointing arm. But then it might end up being a sergeant. So I'm actually tempted. I'm going to save the pointing arm for the sergeant. I think that's makes the most sense. What arm I didn't use actually was the reloading arm. I actually really like this reloading arm. But I need a theme for this guy. There's one of those things where I've tried to follow a theme with each one. So let's have a look at what I did before. So, for example, this guy was more like a long range kind of unit. So it's got a targeting array that was taken from the infiltrators, I think it was, and then also another one which I just basically built and painted it as a set of binoculars. So this is the long range guy. There was I'm trying to remember which these are. I don't even know what that guy was. Oh, communications. Yeah, he's got aerials on his head, on his backpack. The sergeant, standard, and Heavy Bolter was pretty much standard as well. The only thing I did was swapped the different legs around. So I used a different set of legs than the instructions recommended. And then finally, I think this guy was maybe grenades, if I remember. Yeah, just had some grenades. So everything's got a very slight modification. This guy's probably the most heavily modified. I kind of went for like a breacher with like a shotgun and an axe in there, which is from the Votan kit. So yeah, we need something. We need to get an idea for this. Speaking of God, I just want to say thanks to Pete for the advice a while ago for my Tanith. You're very much welcome. I'm glad it was helpful. I spent today like 4 hours pre-shading my dreadnoughts and doing base coat and shading for Termes, just to notice after shading that I scraped off a bit of paint from the sergeant. Oh, that's annoying, that is. That's so annoying. Yeah. Team medic? Yeah, I don't really have any medics actually in this one, so that might be a good option. Yeah, I don't think I did a medic. Yeah, let's go for a medic. I think that's a good option. Is Gatling gun an option? Well, there's the heavy bolter, and I was tempted to do something with the heavy bolter. I don't have the bits here, but I was going to grab... I had a spare heavy stubber barrel from one of the Primus vehicle kits, and I was basically going to use that on the heavy bolter instead to make almost like a long-barreled heavy bolter instead. So I might go for that still. Which do you prefer, Milliput or green stuff? I prefer the on the fence option of both together. I think work really well. I really like that. Medic with a heavy bolter. EOD maybe, the bulk your armor out. That's an option. Yeah, there is definitely a few options I could do for that. What other arms do we have just available? So we've got a grenade arm. So there's always that we can use for something. We could do another grenadier. We have a kind of... What would that pose be described as? Kind of like a blocking off, halting the advance of the army. So we've got that and then that. Yeah, quite a few options actually for this. But I think I like the idea of doing a medic. I think that's going to be a good option to start off with. Sharpshooter specialist. Yeah, I think that's another option. Let's make a note of these. I've got my little notebook here, so let's make a note of these options so that I'm not at the end of this going, what were the options, guys? What were the options we decided? So we've already got so we need 4 options, don't we? So we need one one for the sergeant, and we need one for the heavy bolter as well. So if we go for a medic, we've also got actually got more options than we have models for. So we've got the CQC guy. So I've got a choice now. We can either go for a long-range specialist or the EOD. So like a unit sharpshooter then. Interesting. I mean, I could make the sergeant the EOD. That might work. If we make the sergeant the EOD and then have a long-range option, I think that works. So that'd be a sergeant with heavier armor, a heavy bolter, a medic. We've already got the CQC guy, and then we have a long-range sniper marksman. I think that works. Cool. I knew if I didn't make a note of that, I'd forget. I'd start building this first guy and be like, what was that? What was that now? Completely forgot. So what options do we have for a medic? That's what I'm interested in, really. What do we have? We need ideally an arm which is holding something. So let me grab my Space Marine bits box. Knuckle duster. I mean, I'm going to be doing 3 squads of these. The lists that I've been playing around with tend to have 3 squads of heavy intercessors as my core. They're not battle line anymore, are they? They're like what the troops used to be, but you know what I mean. It's battle line in Age of Sigmar. So yeah, I've already got the CQC. So we've got demo specialist, a hacker, that might be a good option. Demo special. It's something I did with my. Where are they now? Yeah, so I did the same thing when I did the jump Intercessors. So this is like the same guy basically. That's the demo specialist. So I quite like doing little specialisms. I didn't mind so much with these guys because they were obviously very much they were kind of like their own thing anyway, so it didn't really matter as much with these ones because each of them had their own unique little. I'm really, really. I love the little holographic readouts that come with that vehicle kit. They're just really cool little from the Horus Heresy vehicle kits. They work really well. But yeah. So I didn't really need to do as much of those, but these guys, I think with them just being the most generic units in the Force, I definitely think that these need to have something. So, now these are all of my Tempestus Signs bits, and what I'm hoping to find in here, because I always have them, and I hope they're in here because the rest of my Tempestus Signs, I believe, are inaccessible. We'll find out soon enough. Is there's usually an arm in here which is carrying a medical patch, but I've used it quite a few times in other builds, so I'm guessing I don't actually have any left. Which, if that is the case, I will have to find an alternate option, which I maybe do have. Possibly. Nope, doesn't look like I've got any. It's basically the medic arm that comes in that set, and I've used it so many times. It's just like such a good kit for like representing a medical unit. But there is another option I think I have to hand. So that's the Marine box. I'll keep that handy. Maybe the Northeasiums from the Deathwing Command Squad. That would actually have worked really well. Actually, let's see. So, when I was at Warhammer World on Friday, I did actually pick up some Ravenwing Command Squad Dark Angels. Knowing my luck, these will probably get re-released. But I basically wanted I like the Command Squad parts. For most units, the Deathwing Terminators reminded me that they are very much. And this guy actually has a apothecary in it as well on a bike. So let's see if there's any components we can borrow from this. So this is the kind of stuff which is really, really nice. Look at that. That is perfect. That is really, really nice for this kind of conversion work. I'm not sure about anything else that would work. There's lots of cool stuff in here, but these pouches are really cool. So the reason why I got these is because I basically wanted all of these cool little Dark Angel components, little pouches, weapons. Sure, the pants are useful, even the power packs are really useful. Head's quite nice as well. But yeah, all these kind of cool little things. So yeah, there we go, Northeastern. So you can see it's a little bit too small possibly. If I cut it down at the elbow, it might work. Might work. I don't know what else I'd use it for, to be honest, so I might as well use it for this. If I took a right arm, could work. Could work. We can see that very well. Possibly. That's an option. We'll keep that in mind. It seems quite a drastic option, but it is an option. I really like these as well, like the pickaxes. They just look really cool. They're kind of like quite an unusual weapon, really. You don't see them very often. Swords are always really useful, but these are great. These are so cool. So yeah, the reason why I got these is because I wanted a whole bunch of these little stowage items, because if I decided to do any vehicles or outrider bikers or anything like that, all that kind of stuff would be really cool. And then I've got some bikes as well, because who doesn't want bikes, eh? This is the other thing as well. So one of the things that I really wanted when I did my White Scars video was this club, and I couldn't find one outside of this kit, which is really annoying, but it's a really cool weapon as well. So that's an option. That is an option indeed. Grey Knight Terminator kit does have bits, but I have the Grey Knights kit? I do, I think, actually. I think I was working on it for another kit bash idea, which is currently in the works, but still probably quite away from being done. But yeah, I might have it, actually. Oops. Everything collapses. Ammo mule for the Heavy Intercessor. Yeah, that could work as well. You could literally have, yeah, one guy who's just lugging ammo. So, Grey Knight Terminator set. Right, okay, cool. There we go. Straight away. I think that's a better option, to be honest. If I compare that against a Gravis, it's probably the most similarly shaped, I think. Yeah, and sized. Yeah, we can use that. That's perfect. We'll clip that away. Thank you. Who was it that suggested Grey Knights? I can't see it. I can't see it. I can't see it. I can't see it. Whoever it was that suggested the Grey Knight kit, good choice. There we go. Perfect. Is there anything else from here? I think there's a little... Oh, those are cool as well. Let's grab some of those. I've got a couple of Grey Knight kits, so... the Terminators anyway, so I've got plenty of these components. Cool. Pop these to one side for now. Question: how would you approach Kasrkin kill team specialised in urban warfare? Been playing too much Dark Tide, and the idea of a Hive City Kasrkin sounds rad. So, my initial thought would be, I'm going to take a tangent now because I'm kind of interested in how I'd approach this myself. So if I switch to Firefox and we go to 40k and we have a look at the Imperium and we go to Astra Militarum. Is it going to show up on the first page? Yes, okay. Right, so how would I approach this now? I mean, to be fair, the thing is with infantry, the infantry are already kind of there when it comes to urban warfare. The only thing I would suggest is maybe looking for a few more components which you could use for like representing climbing equipment or demolition equipment, things like that. Go more heavily on those kind of breaching charges. If I remember rightly, there used to be some cities of death. Let's see if I can see any of those. Yeah, so when Cities of Death came out a long time ago, there was a lot of conversions that were done in White Dwarf. I don't know if... let's have a look for a second. Let me just sign into Warhammer Vault. I don't know if... When did Cities of Death come out? I'm going to use the hive mind. Can anyone find out when Cities of Death was released? And I'll try and roughly find out when the White Dwarfs were around for it. Oh, Harp97 on Twitch. That was it that suggested the Grey Knight Terminator kits. Thank you very much. I don't know, what have I done? You've got me on a tangent of White Dwarf. I've been away from this for so long. It's when was it? I think it was probably going to be a cover, wasn't it? It was a while ago. City of Death. Is that... There we go. Perfect. There we go. It literally says on the cover. Let's click on that. I think it's been months since I was on this, and they still haven't added in any more White Dwarfs going back in time. Okay. Yeah, so I remember them having like stratagems and stuff like that, and you could have... Look at these old terrain sets. Vostrian's Metal Venerable Dreadnought. That was when the original plastic Sniper Scouts came out. So I think the plastic Scouts had already been out for a little while by that point. But new plastic kits for Eldar are coming. And these are like the last plastic kits they got until the recent update. Here we go. This is what I was talking about. So, yeah, so this is I remember looking at this. So people did some... Oh, look, it's Darren Latham. That's crazy kind of seeing... Oh, hang on. It's kind of crazy seeing someone who is still very much well-known in the hobby and just seeing their names popping up. So yeah, that's how long Darren's been doing this kind of thing for. So yeah, Bloodraven Scouts, he's gone very heavy on the night gear, and you can see on the backpacks as well, he's used Cadian components to just load them out as much as possible, very much in this kind of style that I would build my Raptors, as much extra equipment, entrenching tools. Yeah, there's an all specs guide there. Not so much these ones. The Orc Commandos have got breaching tools. This is like, I remember, like a big kind of scissors thing, although the blades are on the wrong way. Some urban camo, up armored vehicles, Sisters of Battle. Wow, those would have been metal. Sisters of Battle as well have been converted, but you can see here, yeah, look, these little extra details of ropes and stuff that have been added just to give them the impression that they're using them to scale stuff. Actually, yeah, we've got some we've got some blurb here. Cousins' Battle Sisters were mounted on simple scenic bases, which all feature rubble. Additionally, she's kitted out them with frag grenades, handy when assaulting cover, and various scraps of equipment such as ropes, sights, and scanners. Finally, the sheer number of flames and multi-guns is very useful in city fights. So yeah, there's lots of these little things that you can look at and see how these would work. I'm just trying to look at the names, see if there's any other names that I recognise. Possibly some, but I'm not 100% sure. Not as strong as Darren Latham. Adam Troke, still a very recognisable character. If you watch any of the reveals, these are just standard armies now. I don't think there's anything particularly special in these. Lord of the Rings. Right. There used to be a conversion part. There we go. This is what I was looking for. So anything, just a Death Leaper. Okay. Yeah. Anyway, back to the topic at hand. But yeah, if you want to do something that's very much kind of good for city fighting, I would definitely go back and follow those kind of things. I think that's probably the best option. I think those have been one of those things where the concepts have stayed the same. The bits have changed. There's probably more bits you can choose from now, but as a principle, I think you can't go wrong with just getting some bits from the Cadian upgrade room, or maybe the heavy weapon teams, personally. Kitbashing looks so easy, but it feels like a challenge when you have the idea and try to make it work. Yeah, it is. So kitbashing is one of those things where when you have all the parts that you need, it just goes together so well. It's like when you're cutting wrapping paper and the scissors just start gliding through the paper and you don't have to actually cut, you just hold them at the right angle, it just slides through. When you've got all the components you need and everything just works properly, and then other times it snags and you just end up with that situation where what you thought was a really good idea for a component just doesn't fit well, it doesn't scale well, it's attached to another part which makes it hard to work with, and that can really put a dampener on any conversion work and stuff like that. But it's just one of those things. Sometimes you can't always get everything to go smoothly, but every time that happens, you learn something. You learn that you need to maybe try working on a different model, go a different direction with the conversion, or maybe look somewhere else. And it's just about kind of experimenting as much as you can. And obviously this is why I think if I do blow my own trumpet, having a YouTuber or an Instagram or a blog of some sort that you can take reference to, and you can be like, okay, well, this person uses this component for this is how this component works when it's next to these kind of components, blah blah blah, and it's a good baseline to have as I wonder if I could just literally swap out the arms. I wonder if that would just look weird. So the shoulder pads wouldn't look too bad, actually. I actually even, you know what, I don't even think I need to do a full arm swap. I think I can just pop this arm on here and it will look okay. I think the arm is actually so heavily modified anyway. I think as long as a shoulder pad can fit over the top of it nicely. Where's the shoulder pads? There we go. Yeah, oh, wrong shoulder pad. Let's get the actual correct side. Stamman Soldier Boy, hey Pete, it's been a while since I've been able to make it to a stream, so just want to say hello. Hello! Welcome back to the streams. I know that I only do them on Sundays now. I used to do them on Wednesdays and Sundays, but I don't have the time to do them on Wednesdays and Sundays, so I just do on Sundays now. But, yeah. I understand that obviously sometimes timings aren't always right for people, but they're always available on YouTube later on. Yeah. Okay, so the Heavy Intercessors shoulder pads just work fine. I suspected they did. I think I've done something similar in the past. But yeah, there's no point making this more complicated than it needs to be. I think I'm just going to go straight for the Narthecium. And then just pick a suitable left arm, which there is. There we go. Can you just straight for that arm? Yeah, I think that'll work. Easy peasy squeezy lemons. So I've already got some little extra components. Those can go around the waist. They have that kind of... It should be quite nice and an open pose, so we should have really good access to the torso. So if we have this like this, I think. Put that like that. Put the arm down like that, and then have a head probably facing this way. Maybe not the best torso, actually, thinking about it in hindsight. It'll be okay. Yeah, if I have it like that, I think that works okay. Yeah. Nice and straightforward, actually. Grey Knight Kit made that really easy. Maybe make the Heavy Bolter guy as the ammo mule and switch out the Heavy Bolter for an autocannon from the Primer Suppressors or the Rotary Cannon from Horus Heresy. Yeah, so what I might do is I might keep the Heavy Bolter in this unit and just give him an extended muzzle, because I didn't really do anything with the Heavy Bolter guy from the previous unit. And then the Heavy Bolter that I put on my final unit, I'll basically give him like an ammo mule. I'll try and find as much... I'll get as many components from various different aggressor kits as possible for the Boltstorm Gauntlets. Enforcer Taurus to guard Tauros. So yeah, this is one of the things that I'm sure that Yankee is very pleased of the announcement that there is going to be a Taurus up for pre-order next weekend, which is all pretty good, and it will be... When was it? I can't remember what it said now. I think it's 2-week pre-order. I think it gets released before Christmas. I don't know. Maybe not, actually. Maybe it's like a pre-order before Christmas. Anyway. Yankee mentions. Talking about the Taurus. So yeah, when I saw that, I was thinking, I've got two options with that one, depending on how big it is, because Enforcers are a little bit bigger than Guardsmen anyway, so based on how the Enforcers sit in the vehicle, I think there's two options here. I can either go for a Guardsman conversion and do like an Elysian drop troops one, because they're the guys who originally had that Taurus vehicle, so that's an option. The second option, which would work well with this army, is to see if I can use it as a basis for a better ATV, because I really hate the ATV model. The annoying thing is I actually don't mind. I quite like the Outriders. The Outrider kit's really nice. If a little basic, it is a nice kit. The bikes still look good. But the ATV just doesn't work with it. Like, it works... Right. The Outriders look cool. The ATV doesn't. When you run an Outrider squad, you can add an ATV to it, which is always good because you can get a little bit of extra firepower in there. but I don't like the ATV. So I'm kind of thinking if it's big enough to do some sort of upgraded version of the ATV, so it needs to be a similar size for rules purposes, but ideally it's either going to be an Elysian drop or it's going to be an improved ATV. I don't know. Should do an Outrider attack bike. That was what I was thinking. I quite like the idea of even a little sidecar. Even if it doesn't have another marine set in it, I think maybe having just a gun mounted to the sidecar, or even one of the things I was playing with the idea of was making like a trike kind of thing with a gun on the back without a marine. So yeah, I don't know yet. ATV, the one Primus vehicle that should have been a hover vehicle. I actually have. I forgot I had this. Where is it now? So I actually built this a long time ago, and I used to do product reviews for Firestorm Games. So I did a build of not the repulsor, but the impulsor with the turret option. And I managed to find it, and I was really happy with the fact that I managed to find it, because it was I spent a lot of time magnetizing it for the review and just never did anything else with it. So it's literally been sat unused for so long, and I'm thinking I could literally just repurpose this for my Raptor so easily, because all these weapons are, the weapon options were magnetized. I think I locked those in. Did I lock those? No, I think they're attached. Wow, I think the glue's just, there we go, yeah. And then all the weapon options as well, I think I just blue tacked on for the time being, yeah. I didn't even like fully assemble it because I wanted to keep it as option free as possible, so I can go around and add as much stowage in here as much. And the only thing is, I really, really dislike the hover vehicles. I just have a real anti-hover vehicle aspect with these. I think the track vehicles look really well, but I actually quite like the turret on this guy, and I would quite like to do a Raptor's vehicle because there's just so much room for storage. So much room. And that's kind of part of the reason why I picked these guys up as well, because they have the like little satchels and things like that you can place. And I also picked up another one because I've already got one, but they're just so good. This is the thing, right? Games Workshop do sell some sprues like this. They have just a loose sprue. It's the Raven Wing accessory pack. Right, this is £10. This sprue is. This is probably one of the best sprues for £10 that you can get from Games Workshop, because it's basically it's a full kit for £10. You can't build anything with it, but it's just full of scroll work. You've got a few little bike mounts if you want them. Lots and lots of stowage items, shoulder pads. These are cool. These are really, really cool. There's even like little angels, weapon options, cyclone rocket launchers. There is quite a few of those actually. Yeah, there's 2 of those. There's a big book. Who doesn't want a big book? And yeah, it's a really, really cool sprue. If you're a Space Marine player, I would recommend getting one of these just because there's so much cool stuff on there. And it probably won't be available for all that much longer, because based on the fact that there is a new Dark Angels kit on the horizon, I think that's possibly an idea that maybe we'll see some more Raven Wing stuff in the future. Coming to my Gladiators tracks, it does work. Yeah, I mean, I think I measured it that it was basically the similar kind of width to put in. I mean, I could possibly still do it. If I could get some track links, I could maybe put some tracks in this. I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, I quite like the idea of that. I've not got a transport options, but I think it fits Raptors very nicely. The vehicle aesthetic does, apart from the tracks. Would you add some camo webbing, Sneaky Tank Hunter? That would be so cool. I agree, it would be cool. Yeah, it would be. I've seen a few people doing that kind of thing with Raptors in the past, and I think it does work really well. So I definitely do some more stuff like that. And also vehicles are very different as well. Different kind of aspect, because it is just about the pouches on vehicles. You can add a few extra items like camo netting, maybe a few radio options. You can extend barrels, things like that. But there's not as much in the way of the core model that you can change. So it is more about the accessories and the extra items that you add to it. I think that really make it. Demon's Rhino is the cheapest tank for kit for tracks if you don't find them separate. Yeah, it's strange, isn't it? The newest Rhino is actually one of the cheaper Rhino options available, which is interesting. The most up-to-date Rhino kit, even though it's technically not up-to-date. But yeah, I was considering that. The other option was to 3D print some tracks. And I was going to... My intention was, and this is the case with me, I have a lot of intentions, but just finding the time to do everything is the problem, would be to essentially design some track links. So a little bit like what you get in the track kits, where you have like an individual track link. Design them, 3D sculpt it, and it should be quite easy to do a very basic sculpt, like quite a rigid square solid object sculpt. And then just 3D print a ton of them, and maybe lock some together to make like larger pieces, and just 3D print a bunch of them. Because there's a rule, isn't there? There's that sneaky rule where if you're allowed to use 3D printed components in a tournament, provided that you designed them. But then I just did the STLs online anyway, so other people could use them if they wanted to, but I would be the owner of that particular item, so if people wanted to use it, they could do. But I feel that's a lot of effort and a lot of time. But I would like to do it. I would like to have a go at sculpting. I've had a go at sculpting some things, but I think that would be quite a utilitarian thing to have, just tracks. It's another idea for it. If Dead Animal Bits gets funded, we can do that. We can just do a whole kit that's just tracks that are scaled perfectly for various different Warhammer vehicles. The Raptors are big land speeder users. Maybe a few land speeder builds would be cool to do with extra stowage camo. Yeah, so I was going to go down the Thunderstrike speeder. I think was probably the idea that I was going to go for. I believe. I quite like the idea. There's one of them where if they hit, I can't remember which one it is, but I know one of them, if it hits a target, it's like gives extra bonuses for any other units which fire at it. And because my arm's going to be quite heavily long ranged, I reckon that would be really useful. Especially when you combine it with my Desolation Squad, which I didn't realise is 200 points. That's quite a hefty chunk of an army, that is. For 5 men, 200 points. I think that's one of the most expensive squads in the game. I think Terminators are probably only a little bit more expensive. I'm going to check that. So yeah, Desolation Squads are 200 points for 5 men. A Ballistus Dreadnought, as in the one that comes with the 2 last cannons and the rocket launcher, is 140 points. So you can build a Ballistus Dreadnought and take a character model, like an Apothecary or a Tech Marine, for less than it costs for a Desolation Squad. Brutalist Dreadnought is still cheaper. Centurion Assault Squad are cheaper. What else are cheaper? You can get 2 Eradicator squads for the cost of 1. You could get a whole Gladiator tank, even the more expensive version, and still have change left over. Where are the Terminators now? Storm Speeders, that's what I was talking about. I would like to include some of those. Yeah, they're more expensive than Terminators. So a Terminator Assault Squad is 195 points, and Desolation Marines are 200 points, which is interesting. Elliot Hopes. Working on Flesh Eater Quartz. Any tips for basing? I mean, you can go two ways with that, can't you? I think you can either go for the kind of the nice world that they think they're living in, like the whole kind of nice lush green meadows and things like that, or you can just go really heavy on the blood effects, which is probably where I would go. I think you want to make something look like you want to try and get as many extra bones and stuff like that, have them sticking out of the ground, go for like a really nice dark earth texture, maybe like a reddish, depending on which color you paint the army, that is. If you go for the greenish colors, maybe go for like a reddish brown to offset it, and then you can just put like piles of blood and gore and viscera and whatever that across the base, and that'd work. That would look quite nice. £200 points. It's the same as a 10-man Chaos Space Marine Legionnaire squad. Yeah, they are. I mean, considering the weapons that they're bringing to bear, and this is why I was kind of tempted if I ran a Desolation squad, because they're so expensive per model, it's just to stick them with an apothecary, because it's just like. So yeah, I had two options. I either went through an apothecary biologist because he gives them lethal hits, or a regular apothecary which are 50 points, and obviously that gives them the ability to. So while this model is leading units in your command phase, you can return one destroyed model. So yeah, that's like every time that triggers, that's like 40 points saved straight away. And it's in command phase, so that model can still act in that turn. So I think an apothecary in that unit, just because the per man, I think they can lead them, if I remember rightly. Yes, they can. Yeah, they can. I wonder if you could build a Bretonnian army and just play it as Flesh Eaters. This is how they would see the world. I think so. I think you could probably do that. I've been tempted by a similar idea, because I think it'd be interesting to have, with obviously the Bretonnian kits coming back. I think you could get away with that because each of the units in the Flesh Eater Courts have that kind of role of either a serf or a knight or a lord, and I reckon you can get away with that. So if you basically built all the knights as crypt horrors or crypt flayers or something like that, or you'd have to maybe do Pegasus knights would be the Morbeg ones, I think, or maybe the crypt flayers ones that can fly. I think as long as you put them on like a similar size base, I think you could do that. And you could have little hints to their insanity. I think that would work pretty cool. But yeah, you could just run regular Crypt Ghouls as plain old men-at-arms. The Foot Knights you could run as the new unit as well. The new kind of armoured unit that we've seen. Oh, we put minis. Sorry, man, I didn't notice you in the chat. I keep kind of glancing over and trying to keep track of it, but I'm just pretty terrible at doing that. So, how's it going? I think they backtracked on the 3D printing thing. It wouldn't surprise me, to be honest. Oh, well. It wouldn't surprise me if they did that. I think fairly recently it was still allowed, I guess, but it's probably quite hard to go back and say, oh, well, I did sculpt this myself, but someone else sculpted something very similar. Got my hands on the new Mark III Heresy Space Marines. Can't wait to build them up as part of my first company of the Imperial Warden chapter. That's cool. Yeah, the Mark III unit is really nice. I'm really pleased with that. I think so. This one of the things that I actually was very tempted by, and so I was doing that whole thing where every now and again I just build an army on the list builder. I don't ever build an army in reality because I'm just terrible and slow at stuff. But I was playing around with what would be the cheapest army list. And most people, when you say what would, cheap 40k army, they'll be like, okay, get yourself a couple of Custodes, combat patrols, and then like stick one extra character or an extra vehicle or something in there. That gives you about 2,000 points. And I think that works out to be about 280 £80, something like that. I think was it that much? Maybe a little bit less. It was like £250, and but then you're running custodians. Fairly small model count army. Doesn't really give you much flexibility in that. But I was playing around with the Chaos Space Marine list, and you can basically build. So if you buy the Age of Darkness box set, let's have a look. Let's go on a tangent, because why not? I can't remember if I talked about this already. I probably have, but I kind of want to do it, but keep not, because I know it'll take me too long. So if you pick up the Age of Darkness box set, £185 retail. You can get it cheaper elsewhere. Element Games. Use my affiliate links if you want to. So in this, you get 40 Marines, you get 10 Terminators, a Land Raider, Contemptor, and then you get 2 characters on 40mm bases. You could run as Terminators. And if you basically build this as a full Chaos Space Marine army, you run this as a regular Chaos Space Marine Land Raider, you run the Cataphracti as Chaos Terminators, you run all 40 of these guys as Chaos Marines, regular Marines, and you basically buy one of the heavy weapon upgrade sprues, and you buy Abaddon, and you literally have a 2,000 point army. And if you buy it from bits resell, well, cheaper retailers, you can probably knock about 20% off that price, which is quite a big chunk actually. You can get, I think you can pick this maybe up for about 155, 160 in quite a few places. Abaddon is also not too expensive. There's possibly even cheaper options than him. £42. So yeah, you're looking at another £30. So what we're on, £180, and then you get the heavy weapon upgrade sprue. Let's go for. So you'd probably want to get the heavy weapons and the special weapons. So these are a bit pricier, but one box would do you for a full army. But yeah, it actually ends up being quite a cheap way of collecting Chaos Space Marines. And I worked out it's a lot cheaper than doing it naturally. I think let's work it out. Let's quickly do it. I wasn't expecting to do much on this one. So for the same, I mean, you could run a combat, but let's get the combat patrol, and then we'll say that we've got Havocs in there. So that's £95. You'll need an Abaddon anyway. So you need 2 squads of Terminators. There's 2 of those. 1, 2. You need a couple of Chaos Lords, so let's drop those in as well. Then we need at least 2 more of these. And we also need a Land Raider. Actually, I'll take one of the Chaos Lords off because we already have the Dark Apostle. And we also have a 5-man squad of Havocs. So yeah, let's add in another squad of Havocs. And then we need the Land Raider as well. There. Okay. So let's go to view the cart. And then let's take off one of these. Just have one. Okay, so grand total of this is £404. So that'll give you 2 characters. It'll give you a Dreadnought. You get 10 Havocs, and then you get 30 regular Chaos Space Marines and a Land Raider. £404. We're going off Games Workshop prices, it's the easiest one. So if I remove all of these now, remember 404, that's what we're looking for. We need to come underneath that price and get the same. So, Horus Heresy, start here. Add that. Oh, you also get the book as well. So you could sell the book to someone for like £10 and get the money, get a little bit of the money back as well. Horus Heresy accessories, I think. So let's go for. We need the special weapons. Definitely need the special weapons, and then we'll go for the missile launchers and heavy bolters. I think that's. You can possibly kit bash anything else that you need. Plus Abaddon. I should have removed him. So let's look at the cart now. 4 items. £283. So it's about £100, £120 saving. Even if you decided to buy one of the other weapon upgrade sets as well. And then if you sold the rulebook, the Age of Darkness rulebook that's in that box set for £10, I think that would work. Heresy era Marine kit plus weapon kits are the cheap way to make a Chaos Space Marine army, as some of the models can be made into characters and havoc on the correct base size. Exactly, you just put them on 40mm base size and you've got it perfectly there. For Heresy, if they scale up the Mark IV and keep the same war gear options in the kit, it would be nice to see that as 5 Mark IV Marine kit is a cheap army for $500 Canadian army, yeah. Do you have the guts to make that that kit bash? The great thing about this though is the units. One thing that really puts me off Chaos Space Marines is just how much stuff there is to paint on them. They're so detailed. And I know I'm saying, it sounds like I'm saying that like a bad thing, and it is kind of a bad thing, because if you look at a generic squad, so let's say you come along, right, you want to paint this army. You can paint it the base colour, but then you've got to go through and paint the shoulder trim, and then you've got to paint the leg trim, and then the thigh trim, and then the cuffs, and then you spin the model around, and you've got more trim on the back, and the back of the legs, and everywhere else, and all these little spiky bits, and there's all these little bone details, and if you're into that, great, perfect, go ahead, crack on. And each model tends to be different as well, so you can't always rely on catching the same thing. This is the Legionnaires squad, I'm not including this one necessarily, but very, very detailed. If you like the aesthetic, cool, you do you, not saying don't. But in terms of speed painting, in terms of getting an army built as quickly as possible, painted up and to a decent standard, you really can't go wrong with Mark III Marines or... and then as well, if you want to expand on it, you've even got now Mark VI assault squads. You can just run them as Raptors. You'd possibly struggle to run them as Warp Talons without maybe some extra components from somewhere else. I know the Sergeant has components to do like paired lightning claws, but yeah, you've got those as well. If you want to branch out and take some like characters, there's those options. If you want bikers, just get some of these. Stick them on the bases, easy peasy. They have all the different vehicle options. So if you want rhinos, you can keep it in theme. Yeah. Anyway, let's grab these. So yeah, you get... The only thing with the Mark IV, which I admit is not great, is the shoulder pads. Be them being in 2 parts. I hate the shoulder pads. Shoulder pads are one of the worst parts of that kit, but if you don't mind spending a little bit of extra money, you could probably get some alternative shoulder pads for these and just swap them out to be more matched to your army. But anyway, that's enough of that. That's just random musings in this stream here. If you want Chaos Space Marine but easy to paint, World Eater Zerkers are much closer to this simpler old 2000s design. Yeah, it was. For me, I like Heresy era Marine kits as they do not have much details to paint compared to 40k Chaos Space Marine kits. I agree, yeah. It's just such a... It kind of boggles the mind really as to why there is such a disparity between the kit prices. Now, the only thing I can reasonably think is that if the one thing that you do lose on going the direction that I said is that you do lose some of the... If you want to run like a unit that's got bolt pistols and chainswords, you do lose that option, and obviously you have to buy the weapon upgrade kits to have special weapons and things like that. But saying that, there is probably going to be, based on the roadmap, there's going to be a Despoilers kit which will have plastic close combat weapons. Now I'm hoping it gets released as a weapon upgrade kit rather than a separate squad, but we'll see. We'll see. You should call the stream Side Bashed. I love the painting phase. Yeah, it's a good idea. That's a good trip. I don't get to talk about stuff like this in my normal videos because it'd just be so random just to be talking about, oh yeah, come and have a look at my Raptors army. Now listen to me ramble on about how much cheaper it is to build a Chaos Space Marine army using the Age of Darkness range and an Abaddon. You say it's simpler, but I'm sat here dotting rivets on Mark III Marines. Well, I mean, if you basically just go and do a dry brush and then a wash or something like that, you can get away with it. There's ways of getting around that, but there's very few ways of getting around doing Space Marine trim, unless you have something like, is it the Purged? I think one of the Chaos Warbands, which is pretty much all one color. I think they're like a Death Guard subfaction or something like that, and they're definitely a Nurgle affiliated one, and they have like their armor trim is the same color as their armor, and they just kind of have like stuff oozing from the cracks to help distinguish them, which is quite a good idea actually, kind of a good take on that aspect. Is it the Purged? I feel like I'm possibly misremembering it, but Red Corsairs have black trim and very little metallics. Yeah, that's true. You can probably do those a little bit easy, but still, you're still having to trim. I actually reckon a Heresy era army painted up as the Red Corsairs would actually be a really good go-to, because you could pretty much paint them all. If you painted them all red, if you painted their helmets and shoulder pads black, you could also have that option to add a little bit of extra flair to it if you wanted. So if you wanted to have some spikes or some skulls here and there, you could do, but you wouldn't need to actually go super heavy on it. You could just limit it to certain units, or I'm just going to trim that arm down a little bit. I want it to be held a little bit more at ease than it currently is. Quite like that idea. Quite like the idea of doing Chaos Space Marine warbands using Heresy era kits. It also fits the theme, and because of the way that Chaos Space Marines work and the fact that they often spend time stuck in the warp, and time travels a lot slower for them than it does maybe for the rest of the Imperium, it's entirely feasible really that you could have a full warband that's just equipped with older marks of armor, because they're just remnants from the Horus Heresy, or they stole them from another warband that they came across that had been trapped in a warp storm, something like that. So many options. Why is that? I think this probably isn't sitting properly. There we go. Right, I need a base for him before he falls over. Bases. Red Corsairs have golden trims. Do they? Trevarian, thank you very much for joining. How are you this evening? Is one of them already attached to a base? Yes, it's just need the 4 then. Cool. I've been floating the idea of using the Look of Vi as the basis of a Dornian Heresy Wolfen, Centaur, Space Wolf, Khorne, Demon Prince. That was a mouthful. Though I have no idea what this character could represent. I mean, there's a few different things you could do. So one of the things that I was playing with the idea of was it, what's his name? Was it Bjorn? There's a Space Wolf character who's on he's mounted on a thunder Well, it's like a Thunderwolf cavalry character. And I was thinking of maybe doing some sort of kind of weird centaur hybrid with that. So that might be an option. You would probably have to go quite heavy on the fur there, but that could work. Did I cut any power packs away? I did. Canis Wolfborn, that was it. Yeah, that's the exact one I was thinking about. Yeah, I mean, you could do something like that has the idea of it kind of follows from his original model, so you kind of have that idea of him being almost like a hybrid between the wolf that he would normally have ridden. The only other thing that I was toying with the idea of another idea that I was toying with was it might not work, but I basically was thinking of doing a demon prince with he'd be classed as a winged demon prince in the rules, but he wouldn't have wings. The model would have all of the little bird. I can't remember what it's called. There's an endless spell kit for the Beasts of Chaos, and they have like a base which has like a load of birds on it, and then basically having all the birds surround him, so it's almost like he kind of flies around in this like flock of. Imagine how a vampire would turn into like a flock of bats and fly around. That kind of deal, but with ravens. So he's almost like he turns into ravens and then flies around, and that's how he gets around. But yeah. I'm going to double check about the Red Corsairs here, because I think they've been both over time. So I'm going to point out someone who's really, really good at. I mean, this is a Warhammer community post, so I'm sure a lot of people already know. But yeah, Secretly Shiva on Instagram does some really nice Red Corsairs kit bashes. Does like kill teams, but they're really, really characterful. I'd say that's probably some of the best Chaos Space Marine ones that I've seen personally. But yeah, even like this version of Huron Blackheart. When was this article come out? 2022. But yeah, these are very much black and red. It's kind of like alternating segmented armor as well. So sometimes it's a black panel with a red trim. Sometimes it's a red. Usually it's a red panel with like even this guy here is like a Plague Marine basis that's been. Yeah, that's really cool. If you're on Instagram, definitely check out Secretly Shiva. Really nice stuff. Yeah. I think they're right though. I think they used to have more gold in them. Could be wrong though. But yeah, I think. Yeah, okay, so I get it now. So I think what it is basically the old Huron model was the red and gold with the sections of black in there, but it seems to be that it's more they've kind of realized that it doesn't really clash very well with. It does make them look like world eaters. So yeah, look, this is the old Chaos Space Marines, which had Red Corsairs, but they had red and gold. These seem to have migrated more towards just black and red recently. Well, that one's got the same kind of thing. Yeah, anyway, we're getting sidetracked again, aren't we? Right, okay, so we're going to get at least one model done in this video. If I don't keep going off and talking about Chaos Space Marines. But I mean, that's the best part about doing the streams. If you want to watch consistent and concise videos, go watch the main videos on this channel. Don't watch the live streams. Okay, so let's see if the... I've still got the Grey Knight kit to hand. I think I might have a look to see if there's any more medic parts that I can nick. So I think there's a backpack, isn't there, in that kit, which has them. Well, it's not a backpack, it's kind of like a shoulder-mounted thing. Did I use it for something? I feel like I might have used it for something, but I can't think what it was that I'd used it for. Where is that? Ah, there it is. Okay, got it. I might grab that as well. That must have been on the same kit. I think I have used it. I think this is... Yeah, okay, so this is the kit that I originally used, and I've taken some parts of it. What did I use that on? I feel like I've used it on something. I can't think what it is that I've used it. What did I use it on now? It's going to drive me crazy. Have I used it on one of these units already? Oh, hang on. Yeah, no, I've used it. I have used it on the Grey Knight kill team that I did. Pete the Wargamer, loving your Raptors videos. Pete, painting some of my own Raptors right now. Yes, spread the Raptors love. I want to be as associated with Raptors as Valrak is with Imperial Fist. Also, green's seems to be one of my favourite colours. I mean, that's my water bottle, and obviously the wall painted behind me as well. Channel colours green, so yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Makes a lot of sense. Can enjoy Jazz's Space Bears. Yeah, I did when I did my so I built a Space Bear kill team as well using Heavy Intercessors, and I sent him that. Was it? I think it wasn't last Christmas. I think it was a Christmas before actually. Was it last Christmas or Christmas? I can't remember now. Whenever it was that I did the Space Bears video, I think it was the Christmas before actually. I did I did a squad of 5 using some of their original 3D printed bits. And yeah, it was pretty fun. That was. It's kind of quite cool just to get a really well associated chapter. I mean, I had the Void Scions for a while, and people kind of would look at the Void Scions, and I liked them. They were a bit of a jokey faction, to be fair. The amount of pockets that I put on that guy was just ridiculous. But I would maybe like to go back to them and revisit them. And I like the idea. I'm not sure if many people can remember what they were. They were basically the idea of them was they were specialized in being actual Marines, so they were specialized in doing ship-to-ship actions, and the goal of them was to do things like they would land on the outside of a ship. They wouldn't use like breaching pods or anything like that. They would land on the outside of the ship and they would breach it simultaneously. They would almost like swarm across the surface, so they need to use like maglock boots and demo charges to break open stuff. And then they would just up armor just so that they didn't need to be mobile because they were in like corridors and stuff. So that it was better to have heavier armor in a corridor or even like a weightless situation than it is to have lighter armor and be more mobile. But yeah, I really liked that faction, and I think it would be good to do. It'd be good to do more of those, but maybe refine that idea a little bit more. Teb, $5. Thank you very much. I'd love to see you do a Dornian Angron. I've been playing with an idea because it'd be nice to follow up the Rust video with like more of an Angron if the nails were removed kind of aspect. And there are a few pieces of artwork that I've seen that did a nice job of getting that across, and I think I would like to give that a go myself. I'm not sure how I would do it in terms of miniatures. Probably have to use something like Guilliman as a basis, but I also have another idea for Guilliman, which is I really want to do a clone Grim, because it's not Dornian heresy, it's actual 40k lore. He exists as an entity in the 40k universe, and it would be a way of getting a traditionally traitor Primarch as a non-traitor version and include him in the and that was probably going to have to use the trouble is with loyalist Primarchs, there's not all that many kits that you can use as a basis if you want to stay using plastic. The demon ones are crazy because you've got Angron, you've got Mortarion, you've got Magnus as your three big ones, but then it's quite easy to do demons, so you could do demon versions of pretty much every other Primarch, even the non-evil ones. There's options that you can go for that. I mean, as I've done a demon sanguineous using Catacross, so the demon options are so much easier than doing the non-demonic versions. But I would really like to do a clone Grim, and I think I could possibly do something with Guilliman. It's an idea I've been playing around with for a little bit. Clone Grim in his scrabbled together void arm would be cool, and I think so this is the kind of the direction I'll be going with. He wouldn't have that same kind of pristine armor that he would expect to wear during pre-Horus Heresy, basically before he became ascended. I'm surprised we haven't got a Desolator-esque squad with all last cannons except for like Eliminators. Yeah, I mean, I suppose the only thing... Eliminators are the closest thing we've got with Last Talons, aren't they? There's not really much in the way of... There's not many... There's getting more steadily. You've got Eradicators, which are Melter Specialists. You've got Hellblasters, which are Plasma Specialists. Desolation Marines, which are Missile Specialists. But yeah, the Last Cannons, there isn't really a full-on dedicated unit for that, apart from the... I mean, you even technically had autocannon units. The suppressors were supposed to be autocannons, weren't they? But they never got released as a separate kit. Right, so let's see if we can figure out these, how we can mount these. This should be fairly straightforward, actually. Probably... I'm just seeing how these mount up. I think if I could spin those around, they would actually work really nice. I'm not as worried about those. To be honest, they're just kind of... There's not as much in the way of medicalness that's portrayed by these. I think I'll stick to the pouches, I think, for the time being. Clone Grim needs to return to lore with a scene where Fulgrim is gloating so he doesn't notice his clone coming up behind him before getting spun around and punched in the face. Yeah. It's interesting. I think the thing is about Games Workshop, I feel like Trazen the Infinite is kind of like the little teaser that you get at the end of Marvel films. So it's like, it's stuff that could be made into a full film or like a full TV show or something, but it's not always, and there's a lot of stuff which has been mentioned and never came to fruition. So yeah, I feel like that's basically Games Workshop's way of teasing stuff without ever really having to commit to anything. But then if they ever just want to randomly release a one of the Primarchs, the Lost Primarchs, or anything like that, they can just go, yeah, Trazen had him. Such a perfect character narrative-wise, because you can just pull any character in that maybe we thought was, because he's even supposed to have like a Circa Creed, isn't he? Kitbashing suppressors would be very nice. I can tell by the caps. Trays in X match it now. Yeah, basically, and obviously he is a machine, so it's perfect. I genuinely do think that's what Games Workshop do. I think it's just a great way of almost teasing stuff without necessarily, because if they tease something and it never goes anywhere, they can say, "Oh, he never released them. They never escaped, whatever." But if he does want to release them, then they can. They've got an option, haven't they? And then they can be like pointing, "Oh, this really random thing that suddenly happened. Oh, well, we did point to that. Look at this book ages ago where we talk about trays and we hint that there's like a hidden Primarch in the in a test tube stasis chamber somewhere." Isn't there a rumor that he has some Marines from the Redacted Legions as well? Do you have any advice on what I should get to start off my Horus Heresy Thousand Sons army? Well, I am not an authority when it comes to rules whatsoever. Anyone who's played me in a tournament will know that I should not be giving rules advice to anyone. Hobby-wise, though, I think, and price-wise, I think Thousand Sons, you can't go wrong with the Mark 6 Marines that you get in Age of Darkness. I think if you want to start off with an Age of Darkness army, you really can't go wrong with that box set, personally. It's a really nice box set. Really good value for money. And you get a lot of stuff in there, and obviously the rule book as well. But if you want to add some more Thousand Sons flair in there, then you can't go wrong with a lot of the Thousand Sons components that come in their 40k kits. The heads as well, you could swap out the heads for sergeant, unit leaders, things like that. Inevitably, we will be seeing Tomb Kings coming back, which will have a lot of nice Egyptian themed stuff that you could grab. You could add in those, I'm sure. Lots of options for various different things, I think. One more. Can I fit this in? This might be a little bit tricky, this one, but I think I can just about get it in there. There we go. So now I just need to find a suitably apothecary head, I guess. That's the only thing I can do. I don't know if that's a particularly good use of an adjective there, but needs to press that in just a little bit more. Just so it's sitting a little bit more flush against the belt, because it's very loose at the moment and it's not going to. This is the thing with stuff like these, like side pouches, they're often designed for a specific part of a waistline or a very specific kind of angle, and often if you're mixing and matching, that is not always going to be the same. You often have to go a little bit heavier with the glue sometimes than you would maybe want to if you were assembling actual parts that were designed for it. Okay. Yeah, I need to pick a head now. Love your Primus Desolator kit. You just did brilliant. Didn't think you cut out the backpack. I just stick the launchers on top of the packs. Yeah, so I did play with that idea, and so when I was initially setting up the video and I was planning out the video, I had to look at what other people have done, because I think first of all I want to do something that is actually adding something new to the discussion. I didn't want to just be like, okay, well, I'm going to do this that 10 other people have done. And I've seen a lot of people who have used the little targeters and then basically mounted the rocket launchers to those struts instead, which worked really well. So I thought and people have changed the rifle, kept the rifle design, streamlined it a little bit, made it look a little bit more I don't know, just maybe made it look a little bit more different than just a guy who's got like a missile launcher rifle instead. And I hadn't really seen anyone that had mounted it directly into the backpack. I'm not saying no one's done it, but I just couldn't find anyone that had. So I thought, well, let's try this. I tried it out a little bit using like a spare piece of backpack just to see if it worked, and it did seem to work okay. So yeah, I went for it. The only thing I would have done differently, having completed the kit, is I probably would have liked to have mounted the Wenger launcher a little bit lower. So if you look at this compared to this guy, you can see how much higher it sits. It sits a lot higher on the backpack. I think I would have liked to have mounted this slightly lower, I think. So dogs wanting to... We've got 2 dogs. And one of the dogs just barks when they're playing constantly. And the other dog, the smaller dog, the younger dog, is winding the older one up, which is what's causing it to bark. And they're right outside my office door at the moment. But yeah, I think I would have mounted this a little bit lower, I think. Did you see the Raptors decals on the new Marine decal sheets? You must be very excited. I am, yeah. I still have some from when Mighty Brush did Raptors transfers, and then I think they maybe got told that they weren't supposed to be doing Raptors transfers, but I still have a few of their old ones. So I'm still working my way through those. But yeah. Any tips for mass producing Blaskell from Inceptor Squad 3D prints? Cast. I think so. Yeah, I think that's the only way. I haven't done any like blue stuff casting myself for a long time, and when I did, it was pretty terrible. So, I think probably 3D printers or third-party parts are going to be the best option. Not necessarily like resin sculpts and stuff like that would be really good. But yeah, there's lots of options you can go for, and I really like those shields myself. It's a shame there isn't that many. There isn't as many as there are about. Moggy1K, thank you very much for subscribing at tier 1 over on Twitch. Thank you. I'm trying to keep on track of the two comment sections, both from YouTube and Twitch, and it's not always super easy. Have you seen the trailers and animation Warhammer Plus? He explains that he likes to collect moments, which in the episode in the series he fights between some Drakarian Chaos Space Marine that end up trapped forever in one of his prisons, replaying their parts over and over again. I haven't seen that. I am subscribed to Warhammer Plus because the only things that I've seen, I haven't watched any of the animations for a while. I think I kind of, when it first started, I really liked the animations that I watched, but I watched through them very quickly. So then I was just like, okay, what I'll do is I'll just wait till more stuff comes on and I'll just basically binge watch it. He just never got around to doing it, and we're like year 3 of Warhammer Plus. But I still subscribe because I like the models, and I do enjoy the Warhammer Vault. I do enjoy the access to Warhammer Vault, so, and the app as well and everything. So I use it for that. But I do need to go back and watch some of those animations. And I was aware of that because I think I read some of Trazen's background because I wanted to know a bit more about him. And yeah, I quite like the idea that he has these like stasis moments of these battles that go on forever, and there's like a few like interesting moments going on. I think he even has like some Horus Heresy Marines somewhere. I think I vaguely remember reading about something that. Triple Geo, Clone Grim joining the Imperium and leading a chapter of Loyalist Emperor's Children would be sick. A cool thing he could do is be an ambiguous figure who doesn't reveal his identity to G-Man and Lion. Could be. It'd be interesting to see if he returned and almost pretending to be one of the other Primarchs that was like, could he pass as Sanguinius? Like, possibly. I think he could do that. It's definitely the closest person, isn't he? Maybe not. Curious, think the Desolation Rocket pack could be centered on the pack. It could do. The only thing about the pack being centered is that you have the problem with this. So you can see how close the pack is to the sensor. So if you used a regular Intercessor backpack, you could probably have that mounted centralized if you wanted to. Trazen, I think he has some Thunder Warriors from the Unification campaign on Terra, as the video shows Marines. Yeah, I think that might have been what I saw actually in there. But I think Thunder Warriors are really cool as well. Everyone wants me to do Thunder Warriors, and I feel like the pressure's mounted so much that I don't actually want to do Thunder Warriors because I feel like I would just do a bad job of them. I have a cousin who believes one of the missing Primarchs became Malal Malice. The basis of his belief is the fact that Malice wants to destroy the other gods, and his sacred number being 11. That's interesting. Also interesting, because that actually sits quite nicely, because one of the things which I'm going to show you this is my project. So basically, one of the things that people have wanted me to do is to cover some of the more obscure Chaos Gods, Malal being one of them. And there are a few other ones that are named, and there's kind of, it's hinting out that there are countless minor Chaos Gods. There's the big four, but then there's also loads of different little ones. And I thought I wanted to do something which was based around these minor Chaos Gods. So maybe they don't have like a big god, but they're like the biggest entity they have is like a demon prince, like maybe a high level demon prince. So they're not as well established as maybe regular Chaos Gods are. And I thought, well, what is a good source of information which is fairly well known, but has those kind of traits that Chaos has? So obviously you have like Nurgle, which is has positive and negative traits. It's got like growth and new life, but it also has decay, and it has kind of two sides to each of them. Cover a range of different human feelings, emotions, traits, but then they have two sides of it. And I thought, well, the Zodiac, there are lots of options there. There's more than 4, so you can have lots of little minor gods, and you can base each of the Chaos Gods against the Zodiac. And so I'm not big into astrology. It's not my thing, but I'm Aquarius. I thought let's have a go at doing Aquarius first. So I was basically playing around with an idea recently, and of building this Chaos God that's based on each of the Chaos Gods. And this is I've really not fleshed this out. I've basically just done some very small little almost dry fits. That's as far as I've got with this at the moment. But I would like to expand it out into a future video, hopefully. So this is basically the premise. So if you imagine the Slan Priest, which is the basis of the model, I'm going to bulk this out a little bit, and essentially it'll be like this. The arms there, it's about that high, so it kind of sits about that high, and this guy will be floating on the little Slan Priest floating chair. And I've got like a few other things in this box, like what have I got in here? Got some books I'm going to stick on, lots of tentacles, going to feel like the kind of eldritch horror aspect. I've got a few little modifications to make to the staff to take away where was that? So I've got another staff head, which is like a Zinch one. I'm going to have them surrounded like by books and tomes and scrolls and things like that. So I'm going to have it as representing the quest for knowledge, the human drive for progress. He'd basically be the god of progress, but he would also almost be the negative aspect of that as well. So progress for progress sake. So even though that people can become hurt and society can be damaged and people can be exploited for progress's sake, that's how he kind of came about, and well, the entity of Aquarius. But I also had a bit more research, and this is where it gets a little bit more interesting, because I thought, well, I don't want to just call it Aquarius because that sounds too boring. And I had a look to see what the Zodiac was in different. How do I get to? Where is it now? In different languages. And I went through a few different languages, and a lot of the languages sound very similar. But there was one, I think it was Cornish, as in like the native language of Cornwall. And I can't remember what each one of these are because I didn't actually save the translation, so I have to figure it out. But these are all of the zodiac signs. So like if you imagine like Aries, Capricorn, Aquarius, Taurus, all those kind of things. So in Cornish, those are Horde, Tarot, Evelion. I think that's Leo is Evelion. Kanker, Lu, Werhes or Verse or Gaversa, Vantol, Krug, Sitha, Ava, Dauror, and Puskus. I think they just sound pretty cool. I think they kind of work well for Chaos God names for these minor Chaos Gods. And each of them will be based on different aspects. And I've got a few ideas. A few other people have done artworks based on these like dark zodiacs that I'm kind of roughly basing my stuff off. But yeah, Aquarius with a capitalist streak. I think there's one of them I was looking at. I can't remember which one it was now. But yeah, there's definitely one of them which has like quite a greedy, materialistic aspect. For some of the minor gods aspects, I'd suggest the Warcry stuff. Some of the war bands that worship chaos through a filter, so to speak, like the Corvus Cabal, who see chaos as the great gatherer, and the Signs of the Flame, for whom chaos is the ever-raging flame. That's nice, yeah. I like that. I like the different approaches to it, because you can almost imagine these being chaos gods that just exist for... There's just a single population in a planet somewhere of humans who don't really know what chaos is. They don't know what the Emperor is. They don't understand what the warp is. But they maybe worship a certain deity, so they're kind of chaos, but without necessarily being chaos. And it's just a minor god, and it exists just because there's a few billion people that worship him, and that's it. He could never go up against any of the big gods, but he's still a powerful enough force because of that belief that's created. But yeah, that's why I want it. Because they're minor gods, I can basically build them at chaos. If you build them like a Demon Prince size model, and there's lots of options and stuff like that we could do. Leo is Anlu, which is basically the same as Hlu, which is the Welsh version of it. Not surprising, as they're from the same language. I think that, yeah, I had a look at the Welsh translations for it. I'm sure if you look at Cornish versions of the Aquarius on Google, I'm sure you'll find the full translations. But I literally just took a screenshot so I wouldn't forget. But I forgot to. I did the. I cut off. Oh yeah, Anlu. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. I quite like Kanker. Kanker sounds pretty cool. Krug, Sitha, Ava, or gave it Dauror. I quite like that one as well. The idea of an almost benevolent chaos god could be fun. Yeah, I think it's just an idea I was playing with. I've wanted to do something like with a bit more of an out there conversion for quite a while, but I've not really had an idea to do it with. So that's what I'm working on. I've got a few ideas for other things at the moment, but it's something I'm working on. But yeah, that's what I want to do, and I will hopefully be doing that. Maybe not this year. I probably won't get it done before the year's out. But depending on when Old World gets released as well, it might clash with that. But hopefully in the next few months. You've seen it here first anyway, so if you don't see it for months, then at least you can keep an eye out for it. You'll know roughly what the direction I'm going with that is. But yeah, this guy. We need a head, don't we? We need something. I'm thinking. Let's have a look at the apothecary that we have on. Oh, also, it's before I go on to here, let's remind everyone about it's a Dead Animal Bits Kickstarter. Of course, don't forget that. There is just over a week left. There is, I think we're about getting close to 75% of the way there. Yeah, coming up on that target quite quickly, but there is only just over a week left. I'll pop some links in the description. I'm not going to repeat too much of it because I have already mentioned quite a bit about it, but not that one. Ignore that one. do I delete that message? How do I delete the link? Okay, ignore that link that I've sent on Twitch. It's the wrong one. Where is it? I need the actual right link. Got it. Okay. That's the link. I'll pin it. And I'll pop that into the stream. Okay, cool. Yeah, so Dead Animal Bits Kickstarter. It is the plan to make a fully plastic bits. I'm sure a lot of you are already aware of this. It's got lots of different dead animal bits that you'd expect: horns, jaws, femurs, feathers, skulls, bones, severed heads, severed hands, lots of stuff. And there's a few examples of the miniatures that I've used on. It is going to be fulfilled by Wargames Atlantic. So if you're aware of Wargames Atlantic and the really great plastic kits that they make, it'll all be that, and it'll all be full hard plastic. And yeah, so please do check it out if you're interested in anything like that. And what we're looking at, heads. That's it. I wanted a head of something to go onto my pseudo apothecary. I don't know what we call it really. Let's just search apothecary. Oh, the biologist might be a good option for that. So it kind of has a regular head with a eye lens of some sort. So let's check out the biologist as well. I don't think he's available as a separate model yet, is he? Biologist. I'll go on the starter set for 40k. I don't know where else is available. Starter here. Is he still available as a separate model? Is he only available in the box set? I think he is now, actually. Until they release him separately, I don't think you can get him. Is he in the Combat Patrol? I don't think he is. The new site is still hard to look at. It is. I mean, at least they added the spinny thing in there, which makes it a little bit easier to see. Because obviously the first website when it came out was just the servo skulls, and if you pardon me, if you accidentally fell into that, yeah, apothecary biologist, the Gravis one. Yeah, it's basically got the same head. The exact same. It's just got like a regular, not even heavy intercessor head. That's just like the same head. Still haven't fixed the servo skulls on some models. It doesn't surprise me. It doesn't surprise me. The shark jaws are going to be used on so many space shark models. Well, that's the plan. There's also the teeth as well. So there's definitely the options there for people who want to do anything like that. But yeah, I do need to. I think I'm definitely going to need to put some scaled down versions. For anyone who didn't see the start of the stream when I did it, where have I put them? There. So yeah, this is the scale that this is like their full scale, full size. Probably a little bit too big for Space Marines in their current form, about as wide as a Space Marine is currently. So yeah, probably a little bit too wide, but they work really nicely for like vehicle scales, and they work very well for Dreadnoughts as well. They pretty much fit perfectly across that Dreadnought. So if you want to do Carcharodon Dreadnoughts, then this is the kit for you. But yeah, I will probably add some slightly smaller ones in there as well. Works quite well actually. I'm tempted to stick those on there. I quite like the way it looks. Even though this is a World Eaters one, it actually fits the theme really well. Yeah, good for orcs as well. Yeah, it is. Orcs, ogres, Carcharodons, pretty much any kind of stuff would go on it. So yeah, this would work well on something like this. So if you want to do a Carcharodon, I'll use the bigger drawer for that one. There you go, Carcharodon tank, anyone? But yeah, there's also tiny little. It's hard to get them. I put them in a little glass dish, and the teeth are very small, so they're quite hard to get out of here. But there we go. Okay. So there's the shark tooth, the individual one of the individual ones. Oh dear. There are 3 different varieties of these actually. I realised I only actually painted 2 of them for the project, but there is 3 different varieties. 2 of them are very similar, and one of them's a little. Where's it gone? Oh, there it is. Okay, it's the same. It's pretty much the same color. There you go. Try not to drop it this time. So yeah, the teeth are quite nice. They're pretty well scaled for Space Marines. If you want to add them around individually, a few of them around the gorget, something like that, you could do that. But yeah, lots of different components on that area. I've got a bag of them. So there's all the teeth you can see there. And they're like just full teeth as well. So if you want to trim them down, I've tried to do that with all the parts as well. So if the horns are a good example of that. So where are the horns? There. So if you wanted to get the horns, you could. This end is actually sculpted, so you can see it doesn't just go flat. It's actually got like a broken off bit. So if you wanted to mount this as it is on a model, you could do, but if you wanted to cut it off, you can also do that as well. So it's like I've tried to make each of the parts usable, tried to make sure that everything is usable even if it's not. So the same with the antlers, you can see it's even got like the little bit of the antler where it would have been attached to the deer. It's actually got that little ridged edge where it's like snapped off, but if you wanted to flatten it out and stick it on something, you could do. But yeah, you've got to just do I think my favourite are the ram's horns, personally. I think they're my favourite. I don't know how this is going to be cast. I don't know how this has been figured out, but apparently it will work. There might need to be a slight adjustment, I think, but the person that I hired to do these sculpts does have experience in doing this kind of thing, so they are pretty well versed in making sure that things work in plastic injection molding. So I'm quite pleased with that. The fact that it's like a spiral, but it can still be cast in plastic, which is interesting. I think it might maybe have to, because you can't have overhangs or overlaps or anything, so I'm not sure how it's going to be done. Apparently it's going to be done. We'll figure it out. But there's those little ones that you can use, and then the big ones as well, which I quite like. Pretty cool for like demons and things like that. Anyway. Right, that was my second plug of the evening, and we're going to finish off this one apothecary guy, and then hopefully we'll have at least one finished model before the end of the stream. I've been curious about something for a while. What model would you personally use as the basis of a Guvesa? I think that Van Saar from Necromunda are pretty good options. You can also just use regular Cadians as well. It really depends how far you want to go down that whole kind of armed by the tail, because there is I don't know if it's still the same law, but there used to be some law where it was where they would actually, the tail would make las guns, so they would make Imperial equipment, so it would look. So rather than having to redesign stuff for humans, they would just copy the designs for the human equipment that the Imperium used. and they would give them like lasguns, and they would give them what looked like Imperial flak armor, maybe had the symbols removed or anything like that. So you could probably just run regular Cadian miniatures and just include the odd little Tau detail. You could just add a Tau Fire Warrior shoulder pad to the unit leader, add a bonding knife or some grenades or something like that. Just remove any Imperial components. Whipperman is right. I'm going to shoot off now. Have a good one, Pete and Chats. Yes, you too. Thank you for joining again. It's good having you again. Mix these components with the Untamed Beast kit, and you'll have some barbarians. So yeah, this is what I basically wanted to do, because I really like a lot of, for example, I've used the Corvus Cabal in the past. I've used parts from that, and the same with the Untamed Beast. The Untamed Beast have got really cool antlers, horns, teeth, all these cool little bone items, but they're all locked on models, and if you want a whole bunch of a certain item, you have to buy a couple of kits from the Untamed Beasts, and then you've got a load of spare bits. So I wanted to do something where you could dip in and just grab a box of bits instead. So yeah, that's kind of where I've gone for it, and with the future things I'll probably do the same kind of things as well. The antlers will be corns from the elf kits, not to mention the old world wood elves. Again, this is what I've done. I've tried to keep it as generic as possible. So if you want to use Mon Fancy, Age of Sigmar, 40k, Necromunda, there's going to be uses across the board, hopefully. Hopefully. Pete, any recommendations on how to do a conversion with sisters due to them being heavily monoposed? Now, I'm not the biggest fan of the sisters kits. I think they're really nicely sculpted. They've got some really cool components in there, but yeah, I agree. They're very hard to paint as well. It's very detailed. Anyone who collects Sisters of Battle, just from a hobby point of view, has got my respect, just because they are so difficult to clean up and then paint and everything else. But yeah, how to customize them? You probably have to go down a completely different direction. I think you'd maybe have to. Yeah, it's a tricky one personally. And part of me just says, basically get some firstborn Marines and then stick Sisters of Battle heads on them and just run them as like female Space Marines, and then call it quits, because that probably be the easiest way, because then you suddenly have access to all that power armor equipment, and you can still add Sisters of Battle components on there if you wanted. But yeah, that you could do that. I think you could get away with that. Are these kits going to be available in the future after the Kickstarter? Yes. So they will hopefully be. So the whole point of this Kickstarter is to get enough money together, which will pay for the prep, like all of the prep for the molds, the production of the molds, the shipping of the molds across to where Wargames Atlantic do all of their production, and it will also pay for the first production run of the kit as well, which will be the one that goes out to backers. And then from that, we will be doing future production runs for retail as well. So hopefully, we'll have. I'm going to try and get the kit out as soon as possible after the Kickstarter has been fulfilled. But the priority will be getting the Kickstarter fulfilled first, and then once that's done, then we'll know where we are in terms of getting what kind of demand we have for future stuff. But yeah, that's the goal anyway, to get a kit. And it will be distributed by Wargames Atlantic, so anywhere you can get Wargames Atlantic products, you will be able to hopefully get the Spare Parts Emporium range of stuff as well, because it will be a range. If this gets funded, it will definitely be a range. Trying to think what head to use for this guy, this Marine now. I know I've not done an awful lot on this stream. It's been a very talky stream, to be honest, I think. But this will probably end up being... it may end up being the last stream, the last Sunday stream of this year, I think. Because I'm not going to be able to stream next Sunday. The Sunday after that is Christmas Eve. I'm not going to stream on Christmas Eve. And then the Sunday after that is like New Year's, isn't it? So yeah, probably won't be doing any more. This probably be the last, could be the last stream of the year. I might put a sneaky one in before the end of the year, maybe in that week before Christmas. But yeah, probably won't be doing anything another Sunday one. So yeah, I'm happy to chat on this one rather than doing as much conversion work. Anyone make a pouches bit sprue? No, but the intention is that I will be doing that as well. And if all goes well, there is going to be pouches and potion bottles and all sorts. But this is the thing that needs to be done first. If this is going to be like the first starting point. If this gets done, I will definitely be doing more in the future, basically. But yeah, there's just so many ideas. I think that the problem with the ideas is that I just have more ideas than there are probably time to do it. But I think if I can get this range up and running, then there definitely will be more to come. And I'm just going to do stuff that I like as well. And if I feel like I want to have some pouches, I'll probably try and get a pouches kit done, because if I think most of the time I feel like if I find it useful, then there's definitely going to be someone else who finds it useful as well. I need a head. I need a head for something. Let's pick a head for... Where's my spare bits box? Right. We've got the Primus bits box out. Let's have a look at the heads options. I'm thinking of going for a head that has some sort of optics, I think. I might have to dip into the Eradicators thinking about it. You know what? I actually have an apothecary head. I spare one, I think. Space Wolf head. Primary's Lieutenant head. What's this one? That's a Librarian head. So because most of the kits come with multiple components as well now, like when you get a character, you usually get a helmeted and an unhelmeted head as well. You end up with a few options. Is there a head with an optical lens on there? There's definitely Phobos stuff, but I want something that's like a Heavy Intercessor grade head. Let's check the Eradicators. Hey Pete, love the content. Keep up the good work. I shall do. I shall do my best to keep it up. The biggest problem is always trying to keep the ideas fresh and interesting. So yeah, I try not to do too much, but I end up doing a lot of... That's good to know. I was looking for where I'd kept all of my old lion parts. Look at the head. The lion's head. Such a cool model. Where was I? Looking for a head. I think Eradicators have got a good head in them. Eradicators. All I want. Yeah. Okay. So the sergeant has like a monocular, I think. Ideally, I want a helmeted one with it, but I don't think there's so many heads in that Eradicators kit. It's ridiculous. There's an unnecessary amount of heads in this kit. I know I've pointed this out to everyone in a previous stream, but I just want to re-emphasize how ridiculous it is that a 3-man where is it now? A 3-man squad has as many heads in it as it does, which is just aggressors. Does the aggressors have one? No. As soon as I can find them, that is. Okay, so that's one of the sprues. Ah, perfect. That's the one out. That's the head. That one there. Perfect. Gravis helmet with a monocular. He's also looking over to the left a little bit, so hopefully that works. If not, let's put that down to one side and grab the other kit from there. Definitely in here, but where is the question I'm not going to be able to answer immediately? Ah, there we go. Okay, that's the second half of the sprue. Okay, so let me point this out again. So this kit has three. You can build 3 models from this kit, but it has 1, 2, 3, 4. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. 14, 15, 16, and I think there might even be a couple more that I've used here. 17, 18. There's I think there's 20 heads on this sprue. I might have clipped away a couple of them already, but yeah, there's about 20 heads in this entire sprue. For a 3-man squad, there are 20 heads. And actually a lot of them are identical as well, so if you look at those two, I am struggling to see any difference between those. Really, this kit, if you think of, just grab these ones, okay, so there's 3 basic heads facing forward, then you've got a whole bunch of the heads, different bear heads. I'm sure that one, and oh no, they're not, they're ever so slightly different, ever so slightly different. And then you've got a few of the turning heads as well. Just a ridiculous number of heads in this kit. It's so many. I feel like there was maybe better options for that, personally. They probably could have gone some other direction with it. Okay, let's see what this head looks like in this kit. Yeah, I'm quite happy with that. Perfect. Found the header I needed in the end. Pete, you spoke about using firstborns for sisters to do conversions. Are there any particularly smaller firstborns that would be less bulk out, more ideal for female bodies and power suits? I mean, this is the thing with. I guess we can try it. Let's see what I have. I might have a spare Mark IV body handy. I think there might be a torso in here. Yes, there is. Okay, let's try it. Let's go for it. I actually have Mark IV body. Let's give it a go. I've got some Sisters of Battle over here. Right. So this is actually a box I was saving for a different conversion. So let's just try it, shall we? Let's get a Sisters of Battle, and let's go for a helmeted one, because you can always just go for the helmeted options instead. And let's see what it looks like in scale with torso. So it looks a little bit small, but I reckon if you lifted it up a little bit, so I think part of that is because this neck joint is a lot deeper. So if you lifted that up, let's pad that out with a little bit of blue tack. And let's grab a... It's very... Yeah, perfect. Let's go for a helmetless one as well, just to try these out. There's possibly Deathwatch as well. Deathwatch are maybe a tiny bit smaller. So... So if you just prop up the neck a little bit, I don't think it's the worst. At the end of the day, it's power armor. It's kind of like you can just say, well, there's a bulk there, and I think if you can get your hands on a whole bunch of Sisters of Battle heads, it kind of, they maybe do look a little bit small, but I think it's an aesthetic. I think the helmetless heads actually look better, to be honest. I think they look better than the head, the actual. Yeah. Hopefully that gives you a better interpretation of what the scale's like. But I genuinely think that how many heads do you get in here? So you get, in terms of helmetless heads, you get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yeah, okay, so you could actually reasonably, from a box of Sisters of Battle heads, you could get enough heads to fit out a whole squad. I think if you kind of made a few other adjustments here and there, you could probably get away with doing quite a lot of interesting stuff, and it would be easy to paint, and you could still have quite a unique looking force. You could just say that they are. There's also possibly scouts as well. I don't have any neophytes to hand to kind of get the scale right. I don't even know if do I have my Space Wolf Scout handy as well? I don't think I do. I don't know where he ended up. Let me check my... Put simply, no. But yeah, there's always an option. If you want to do something a little bit different, you could always use them on Imperial Guard. Like, I think Kassakin bodies could give you a slightly different options. Oh, I've left one of the sprues out of the box when I was putting it away. But yeah, no, I don't think it's like a terrible idea. I think it's actually, some people are probably very against the idea for some reason. But I think if it's your own collection, there's actually a lot more helmetless heads than I thought. There's a whole new sprue here that I missed. But yeah, you could probably repurpose a lot of the stuff from this kit really, really easily. Really, really easily at all. It wouldn't be difficult. And it would give you more options as well, because you could pretty much just, you could run them as you could run them as Space Marines, or you could run them as Sisters of Battle. The base sizes are, I'm not sure about the base sizes, thinking about it. Are they 32mm still? 13 variations of Scowling Man and a Rebreather. It's basically what the Eradicators kit is. It's a good kit. It's a great kit. You get some really nice little extras, extra pouches and equipment in there. But yeah, it is very much just. They thought we've got all this extra space. What could we do? We could put in some extra pouches. We could put in some extra little trinkets and details. No, just stick in. I think a reasonable amount of heads would have been 9 heads, personally. You can have 3 helmeted regular ones. You could have a couple of sergeant variations. You could have a couple of turning ones where they've got like part of the grill shaved off, and a couple of helmetless ones. It's just so many heads. It's a ridiculous number of heads for such a small man kit. I think there's more head options in that kit than there is in the Heavy Intercessors, even though there's 5 men in that Heavy Intercessor kit. It's great. Ever consider making a kill team based on the Void Science homebrew chapter you made a video on 3 years ago? Yeah, so and I don't know if you were here. I was just talking about them a little bit earlier, and yeah, probably it would be good fun to do that because I had a really nicely fleshed out background for them, and I think the way I executed them, whilst it was there, I think now if I approached them, I would do it differently. So yeah, it would be nice to kind of revisit them. I would probably keep the armor color the same, quite like the orange, but I would most likely go a little bit lighter on those pouches, and then offer in a few extra aesthetic choices to match their kind of hoarding actions. So I think that knob is actually supposed to be guiding the head into a certain position, but it's not actually doing much, so let's clip that away. Perfect. Yeah, the extra lens in the eye just makes it look a little bit more like an apothecary. There we go. Just need some pouches now. Don't have any pouches which could be nice little medical packs. Pretty much anything, I reckon, actually. I don't think it needs to be anything particularly fancy. I reckon some generic pouches first, and then possibly some little bits and bobs to represent medical equipment. Probably have a look in here first, just to see if there's anything worthwhile doing. Alright, what do we have? Also, after building that Desolators kit, I have a spare one of these. This is just the Sergeant's one, so the Venga launcher, the one that would not sit vertically against the torso. So I have no idea what I'm going to use this for, but I think it would make like quite a good looking, like a sniper rifle or something. I don't know. I'd probably take that Castellan launcher section off, but alright, what do we have in here? We have Auspexes, probably a little bit. Not really what I need. What's this? This is from the little pouches there. I quite like them. Will they fit across the chest, or are they too long? Probably too long. Maybe not for the legs, but probably a little bit too long for that. What else do we have? No, that might work actually. So this is one of the power packs for the last few sills for the Eradicators. The only thing is, it's got this kind of indented part that would normally go over the legs. So it's trying to get this to work on this model. I reckon if I remove the pipes, I might even be able to keep the pipes, thinking about it. If I trim this down and have the pipes running up, ideally they'd be running up to this section here, but it's not the end of the world. If it isn't, I might trim those pipes a little bit and see if I can get them to fit. Hopefully it will fit, and I won't find that I'm just wasting this component doing a silly thing like this. But I think I'm just going to get this in place, and then I'm probably going to call the stream there, I reckon. I think that'll do for this evening. Yeah, perfect. So if I get this, probably have to modify it a little bit more, but it's kind of fitting in place. Worst case scenario is I have to just remove the whole of the pipe, which isn't the end of the world. Yeah, it's getting it so it lines up against this whilst also having a pipe that feeds into the armor isn't going to work. So I'm just going to remove those, and I can always reattach them afterwards if I cut them away neat enough. Perfect. Okay, let's see if that fits, and oh, no, not particularly well. The little medical sections that I added kind of, I could probably get away with that, to be honest. If I, let's try it somewhere else, let's try it here. Oh, it actually works quite well. Fits over the armor almost as if it's supposed to. Okay, I was going to stick it there. Makes it easier. Now I've damaged it and kind of cut it down, I should probably actually find a use for it at least. Alright. Okay, let's put that in place, and we should have it nearly finished. I need to add a few extra components, but I need to find some good parts for them, really. Probably something to go on the chest here. Maybe some vials, lots of... Probably need to check out the Jakari kit. There's lots of components in the Rax and Talos kit that has some really nice stuff for this. But yeah, quite happy with that, actually. I think I like the idea of having an apothecary. Kind of fits in with the squad, each having an individual kind of role. 2 members of the squad. Only taken 6 hours worth of kit bashing so far. But yeah, it is one of those things. It's a slow process, which is why I haven't really done a video for these ones. I'll probably do a video for the final squad that I do of these. I'm looking to get at least 3 squads, so maybe more. Right, okay, so I'm going to call the stream there and end there. So yeah, thank you very much for everyone who has joined me for this stream. This will likely be the last one of the year, just because I can't do a stream next week, and then it's obviously Christmas and New Year's. So this may well be the last one of the new year. I might do another one before then. We'll see. So because I won't see anyone else before it ends, at least, let's have a quick look. Quick plug of the old Kickstarter. So again, if you haven't already seen this, I'm sure you have by now, and apologize for getting sick of it. But if you've backed it already, thank you so much for doing so. It really does mean a massive deal for me. It's not... I don't really think I'm going to make any money on this or anything either. It's just a case of it being just the way everything's priced up and how much I need to get production runs and stuff. And I've pretty much got it as like, if it gets funded, it's like the minimum amount that I need to actually get into production. So yeah, just getting this kit, it's been a lot of work. It's been over 6 months of work. So to kind of finally see it all come together as a Kickstarter, and then obviously potentially get made as a kit would be amazing. It'd just be really cool to have a kit like this, which would make kit bashing in a lot of senses a lot easier. But yeah, thank you everyone who has already backed it. All 683 of you. Quite a lot of people from my YouTube channel. I think at least half of the people who've backed it have come directly from YouTube. So that's probably a good number of you. So thank you very much for doing so. It's all the information is on the website, so please do check out the Kickstarter if you haven't done so. If you have done so and you're not interested, my apologies for ramming it down your throats. If you have checked it out and you've backed it, thank you. But yeah, anyway, let's pop those final links in then. Just to, I think it's already pinned on Twitch. I won't spam it into Twitch, but yeah, please do check it out. There's a final week, so even if you just follow it, just so you can kind of keep an eye on what's going on, that'd be great as well. If you've backed it, please share it with your friends. Please pester them as much as I'm pestering everyone who's watching the stream right now. And yeah, thank you very much for joining me on this stream. And if I don't see you before, have a wonderful Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, whatever you're celebrating this time of year, and I hope you have a wonderful New Year's. And I'll probably most likely see you all on a live stream at least in 2024, but there will be at least one more video before the end of the year. So thank you very much for everyone who's joined me, and I will be seeing you all in the next stream, which will probably be early January. So yeah, I think that's everything. I feel like I'm not missing anything. Thank you very much to everyone who has subscribed on Twitch, anyone who has super chatted as well. I knew there's someone I forgot. Also, if you're a Patreon supporter, thank you very much for supporting me. Channel members, again. The Marine of the Month competition is still going for entry. So if you are a Patreon member or you are a channel member, check out the respective areas, Patreon or the channel member community tab, for a chance to have your miniature made by me in a video, and then you'll get the final miniature as well. So yeah, check that out if you haven't done so. Thank you. This is the final end of it. So thank you very much to everyone who's tolerated this so far. And I'll see you all in the next one. Bye.